Greetings, Lighthead here. At the end of my first week of YouTubing, it's been tremendously good fun, I must say. I trust you will forgive my amateurish technological green screen keying boobery as you sing my eternal praises to Zeus, or whatever deity you choose to worship. Now, as you would expect, I, like every other YouTuber that has ever or will ever exist, shall be putting out there into the wider world my own take on the man. Excuse me, the man. Savior of women's, ender of men's, expert in anything and everything he chooses. A man who has somehow been able to find the sheer mass of hours required to perfect every single skill in the world, and to be a profound ladies' man on top of it. Yes, viewers, I speak, naturally, of the big man himself. Sensei Sifu Big Boy Steven Alpha Male of Alpha Males Seagal. How? There have been many legends of superior men dotted throughout human history. Gilgamesh, Jesus, Bono. Yet none have, nay, could, match the natural superiority of the Stevester. Born in the superior year of 1952, Stephen Frederick Seagal, which he later decided to pronounce Seagal because he thought it sounded superior, and he wasn't wrong, to a Jewish father and Irish mother, who were also evidently Russian, Chinese, Native American, Italian, Mongolian, etc.
I'm Russian. I am a little bit Asian, and I'm a Russian Mongol, and I'm Russian.
Of Italian descent?
Yeah, I have some Italian on my mother's side.
Stevie Boy's natural greatness began to shine when he witnessed martial artists flipping each other around during the halftime show of an American football game. I say football despite it being played with the hands and not the feet as one would logically expect, and decided that was his calling in life, and was in absolutely no way a merely egotistical attempt to appear less scrawny and punchable.
Nobody likes you.
And he was never, ever described by his own mother as a puny kid with asthma who was routinely beaten up by bigger boys. He would grow to become a man so superior that even his hair spontaneously regrew itself into a striking widow's peak that in no way resembles a Brillo pad. He would go on to become a man who commands great respect.
Finally, Steven Seagal emerges from one of the other ante-rooms in the mobile home, and he comes out and he said, "I just read the greatest script I've ever read in my life." He goes, "Really? Who wrote it?" "I did."
Has absolutely no affiliations with organized crime.
Steven Seagal was getting shaken down by Peter Gotti,
Yeah.
who was John Gotti's brother. What happens next?
Nothing. He testifies in court, and he didn't want to do it. He was scared to death. You know, when you're young, you're a kid, you carry this little secure blanket, a little blankie. Well, he had that while he was on the stand on his lap.
So he was crying on the stand with his
Crying,
blanket.
he had his little blankie, and he forced to testify. The government
What was
forced
he testifying about?
that they shook him down. He was making movies. He was given an end of the movies for a long time. Then he went on this binge where he went to India and he was praying and he'd do all these things. He stopped and he didn't want to do movies no more. And they didn't like that. Peter Gotti didn't like that.
And has the world's most awesome looking website. Yes, folks, the Superman is real, and he is American. And Russian, Chinese, Japanese. Unfortunately, such superiority will always inspire rivalry. And there have been so very, very many naysayers who would attempt to bring the mighty man down. Aspersions have been cast upon his character since he became the first Westerner to teach Aikido in Japan, where he definitely didn't move to in order to avoid being drafted into fighting in the Vietnam War. As he studied Aikido, a devastating martial art without equal, he married the master's daughter, Miyako Fujitani, who he absolutely didn't cheat on by having an affair with actress and model Kelly LeBrock. while he was supposed to be setting up a dojo in America while Miyako slaved away to support him from Japan. Stevie Wonder Man also didn't illegally marry actress Adrienne LaRusso while still being married to Miyako in the interim. Then dump her to run off with that Kelly LeBrock woman. Neither did he achieve all this by running off with Miyako's life savings.
Yoink!
He also definitely, positively didn't only attain his black belt because the judge was so famously lazy that he routinely fell asleep during examinations and only awarded Steven Seagalio the belt out of pure embarrassment. It was superiority such as this that first caught the attention of the CIA, who Stevie Weavy most certainly did train in martial arts. He also defeated Yakuza gang members.
Hi, how are you?
Looking to strong-arm his business in elaborate street fights that probably featured film-level choreography. And they were, in all likelihood, not just a couple of random drunks, according to his wife Miyako, that Seagalio merely shooed off, but were most definitely Yakuza members. Definitely. As one would expect of a superior mortal being, the Seagal moved back to the States, where he tried his flawless hand at making films. Movie is a dumb-sounding word! And perceived the best way to ingratiate himself into the Hollywood social scene was to snap the wrist of one of its biggest stars, Sean Connery.
Steven Seagal. I got a little cocky because I thought I knew what I was doing because, you know, the principle is it's defense, so it's a pyramid, and I got a bit flash and I did that, and he broke my wrist.
Once he'd shown the world that he can beat up James Bond, he was out of the gate and running strong, exploding onto the scene in Nico, or Above the Law if you're from the colonies, where he wowed martially inexperienced audiences with his ability to flip people around the place, while never taking a single hit, and with his seeming lack of consideration for his glorious, gleaming bald spot. It regrew, remember? And he certainly never ran away from Jean-Claude Van Damme. Because he's too tough for that. It was also during this time that Seagal, because he's a big fellow, introduced an entirely new athletic form which was copied by action stars and real-world professional athletes. He introduced the Seagal Run. Yes, this streamlined, panther-like form minimizes wind resistance by keeping the arms low and loose, wrists flapping backward and forward in the wind which act like two powerful jet turbine engines, and propel the Steve Winder forward at great speeds. After the smash hit Under Siege, which can in no way be considered Die Hard on a ship and was entirely original and in no way a lazy rip-off, he starred in several other hits as one would expect and even turned his mighty continent-smashing hand to the world of comedy.
Then on Thursday, we're just on the soundstage rehearsing it, and we go through it with the cue cards. He reads his lines, very serious. Then he just walks off. He's like 50 feet away in the 8H, the studio. No one's around. I go, we got to start again. Kevin, I'll go see what's going on. So I went up to him. I said, Stephen, are you okay? And he just didn't look at me. He's looking straight forward. He goes, quote, and this is a quote. I just wish Arnold was here so I could kick his f***ing ass.
Gal read it, and he said, if I do this sketch, if I do it. And they want to fight him. Hey, we'll take you on. He goes, if I do it, I have to beat them up. Like he has to. It's like a John Wayne thing, right? Like
right.
Like
He's got to win.
It's the most ludicrous scenario. You don't worry. No one will think that no one's thinking anyone beat anyone up here.
Where he delighted his fellow Saturday Night Live stars with his stoic attitude and hilarious ideas, such as posing as a therapist that takes physical advantage of his highly vulnerable female patients, and beats up thinly veiled oil executives in a scene so impressively fighty that it didn't even require any jokes to be completely awesome.
what happens when you pollute the planet.
His comedy co-stars loved him deeply and wished for his quick return to their humble ranks.
Well, they probably think I'm the biggest jerk who's ever been on the show.
No, that would be Steven Seagal.
And in no way whatsoever thought he was a big, bumbling boob who lacked even the most fundamental elements of a sense of humor or basic human respect and decency. It was in 1994 that Chief Seagal reveals that he is, in fact, part Native American, and shows us all how in touch he is with the deep movements of nature and the importance of conservation, by stabbing a bear to death. Yes, he can do that. He's undoubtedly the world's best hunter, as well as ex- and current Special Forces agent. In 1998, the all-encompassing movie Juggernaut was so supremely famous and superior that his very presence threatens to derail cinema as a concept. So, rather than ruin the little people, Saint Seagal opted to step down from the insufficient platform of the Hollywood silver screen and transitioned into the unarguably equally impressive world of straight-to-video releases with The Patriot. Another environmental moral-pushing lark that spelled out the format for almost every single theatrical appearance thereafter. And with that magnificent scenario set, the era of modern Seagal was born. Yes, the iconic yellow-tinted sunglasses, clearly non-dyed beard, pistol-toting, widow's peak sporting Seagal was now in full effect. An image which blazes a path even today and reminds young stars that they will never be as tough or handsome as Seagal Man. As you would expect of the superior one, the writing and acting demonstrated in these more recent releases were even better than his original films.
Risk my life for you, just on the odd chance you might see there's somebody out there who's not bent.
And guarantee riveted audiences with his crisp, tightly knit scripts, delicately combined with a big man's profound sense of humility.
Marshal Lawson, the man walks with an air of confidence it's rarely seen in this day and age.
Oh, and he's also a police officer and has been for decades on the quiet, apparently. Yes, his enduring sense of right and wrong kept him policing the mean streets of Louisiana, where he doled out his uncompromising yet caring, fluently Spanish justice. And he definitely didn't run over an innocent dog with a tank. Being so multi-talented and soulful, the Man Mountain's musical roots, which are in no way fabricated, couldn't help but burst forth and shower us with some of the most touching, rhythmic, and technically talented songs ever to caress mortal ears.
Tell me what you really want all night.
Try going on stage and following that. And, being of superior spiritual status, he was also declared to be the reincarnation of... Gundrag Dorje? That's the closest I think I'm going to get. Yes, he is officially the reincarnation of a great spiritualist who returned from the Force or wherever to teach humanity to be less like scum than they are. Or, as Joey Swole would state,
you need to do better.
Teach us to be better, Joey. And most definitely didn't only get the accolade from dumping a bunch of money into the Order's coffers to look like a good guy after years of looking like a scumbag. But, as previously stated, the taint of the jealous mortal man will always fester in the shadow of greatness.
Would win a fight between Steven Seagal and Boss Rutan.
Yeah, without a doubt, that's the short answer. Boss Rutan all the way. I'm sorry, girlfriend, you're wrong. I will slap him, pop, 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 pop in the face, grab his ponytail, maybe a headbutt here and there, and then fold him up. No doubt.
That guy's a goof.
He's a silly man.
He's a goof. Beyond silly.
He's a silly man.
Yeah, I mean, he believes that shit, who he is.
You've been very much caught up in all the allegations of sexual harassment. You had a rape allegation against you, and I wonder how you deal with all that.
And as all great men have suffered aspersions cast upon them, so too has Steve Frederick had to endure. But when one is as huge, metaphorically speaking, as Freddie Seags, then the only place for the behemoth of celebrity to go is the world's largest land mass, Russia.
Vladimir Putin.
One big man will naturally attract another in their powerful gravitational fields, and so the marriage of Seagal was born. At least AI has proved good for something.
Vladimir Putin.
Russia then took the mighty Mongol in and taught him their traditional dances, at which he naturally excelled. And fed him great quantities of whatever produce he desired. These days, he currently enjoys working on Russian film productions and definitely doesn't consume several times his body weight every day. His dynamic, energetic, uncompromising force, never dying, always a beacon to us mortals and a living example of divinity in a world undeserving of his avatar-like grace. Ultimately, I would advise attempting to be a little more like big man's Stevio Seagalio, forging the mind, body, and spirit in the furnace of discipline, and being the best you can be, reaching ever upwards towards the heavens. Steven Seagal, we salute you. Oh, and he also deactivated a nuclear bomb. Like and subscribe.